In just 41 seconds, $127 million in classified files. Thomas Massie didn't hesitate. He read the names. Cameras froze. The chamber went silent. What did Congressman Massie reveal that made the FBI director's career vanish instantly? At exactly 2:47 p.m. on March 15, 2025, Congressman Thomas Massie walked into the House Judiciary Committee hearing room like a man carrying dynamite. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his eyes burned with intensity. In his left hand, he gripped a manila folder marked Confidential Eyes Only. In his right hand, he held something that would change American politics forever. A list, 20 names, all connected to Jeffrey Epstein's private island. FBI Director Kash Patel sat at the witness table, his navy suit crisp, his FBI badge gleaming under the lights. He had walked in confident, almost cocky. After all, he had survived congressional hearings before. He had deflected attacks, dismissed grandstanding, and emerged unscathed from every political storm. But today was different. Today, Thomas Massie had receipts. The hearing had started routinely. Democrats pressed Patel about surveillance. Republicans praised his efforts to clean house. Standard Washington theater. But at 2:47 p.m., everything changed. Massie stood up, cleared his throat, and said 5 words that would echo through American history. Director Patel, about Jeffrey Epstein. The room temperature seemed to drop. Reporters leaned forward. Cameras zoomed in. Patel's confident smirk flickered. His knuckles whitened as he gripped the table. "Congressman, I'm not sure what you're implying," Patel replied, his voice steady but his eyes betraying concern. Massie opened the manila folder with theatrical precision. "I'm not implying anything, Director. I'm stating facts. On your desk right now are 20 names. 20 individuals who visited Epstein's Island between 2019 and 2024. Some are sitting in this building today. Some are in your chain of command. And some," Massie paused, his voice dropping to a whisper that carried to every corner, "are you?" The chamber erupted. Gasps rippled through the gallery. Even seasoned reporters dropped their pens. Patel's face drained of color. His jaw clenched so tight you could see the muscles strain. For exactly 7 seconds, nobody spoke. The only sound was the mechanical whir of cameras adjusting focus. Then Patel found his voice. "That's a lie, Congressman." A dangerous, reckless lie that, but Massie cut him off with a gesture that silenced the room. He pulled out a photograph, black and white, grainy but unmistakable. A man in an FBI windbreaker, shaking hands with a shadowy figure. The timestamp read August 14, 2023, 11:47 p.m., Little St. James Island. "Director Patel," Massie continued, his voice now carrying absolute certainty, "would you like to explain to the American people why you visited Jeffrey Epstein's compound 14 months after his death? Would you like to explain the $2.8 million that moved through your personal accounts the following week? Or should I just read the names?" Twitter exploded in real time. Epstein list began trending within 90 seconds. "Patel resign," followed 30 seconds later. In newsrooms across America, editors screamed into phones, demanding live coverage. CNN interrupted programming. Fox News scrambled anchors. MSNBC cleared their schedule. Patel's FBI training kicked in, but it was too late. His poker face had cracked, and Thomas Massie had seen the tell. "Congressman," Patel said, his voice now trembling slightly, "those allegations are completely false. I have never been to that island. I have never had any association." "Name number 1, Massie interrupted, reading from his list in the same tone a coroner might use to identify remains. "FBI Deputy Director Sarah Chen visited the island 6 times between March and October. Financial transfers totaling $890,000 to offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. The words hit the room like physical blows. Chen, sitting 3 rows behind Patel, went white. Her hands began trembling visibly. Security guards near the exits shifted nervously, unsure whether they were witnessing congressional theater or genuine conspiracy exposure. Name number 2, Massie continued remorselessly. Assistant Director Marcus Webb. 4 visits, $1.2 million transferred to Swiss accounts, photographed with individuals who appear to be minors. The last sentence landed like a bomb. Webb, a respected 20-year veteran, stood up abruptly and walked out, his career effectively ending with each step. Patel was sweating now, actual beads of perspiration visible under the harsh committee lights. His breathing had shallow, rapid. FBI media handlers in the back were frantically texting, trying to coordinate damage control for a situation spiraling beyond all control. Name number 3, Massie announced, and this time his voice carried the satisfaction of a prosecutor delivering a death blow. FBI Director Kash Patel. 7 documented visits to Little St. James Island. Financial transfers totaling $4.3 million through intermediary accounts. Video evidence. Stop! Patel screamed, his composure finally shattering completely. He slammed his fist on the witness table with such force that his water glass jumped and spilled. This is insane. This is character assassination. I demand to know where you got this information. The committee room fell into absolute silence. Even the court reporter stopped typing. In that moment, everyone understood that something historic was happening. This wasn't political theater anymore. This was the real-time destruction of the most powerful law enforcement official in America. Massie smiled for the first time all afternoon. It wasn't a pleasant smile. It was the smile of a man who had just checkmate. Director Patel, I got this information from your own FBI files, specifically from a whistleblower in your own counterintelligence division, someone who couldn't stomach watching you destroy the Bureau's reputation while covering up your own crimes. The revelation hit like a thunderclap. Patel wasn't just corrupt, he was exposed by his own people. FBI agents in the gallery began looking at each other with a mixture of shock and recognition. How many of them had suspected? How many had known but stayed silent? At exactly 3:28 p.m., just 41 seconds after Massie began reading the names, Patel's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and whatever message he saw there drained the last ounce of fight from his body. His shoulders sagged. His breathing became labored. The man who had walked into the hearing room as America's top cop was now visibly collapsing under the weight of his exposed secrets. Director Patel, Committee Chairman Jim Jordan said, his voice cutting through the stunned silence, in light of these allegations, this committee strongly advises you to consider your position and the integrity of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Patel looked up from his phone, his eyes now carrying the hollow look of a man who knew his world was ending. Mr. Chairman, he said quietly, his voice barely audible even with the microphone, I need to make a phone call. He stood up slowly, like a man walking to his own execution, and walked toward the exit. He never made it to the door. Halfway across the room, his phone rang, the ringtone, through the silent chamber. Ironically, it was the theme from The Godfather. Patel answered with shaking hands. The conversation lasted exactly 17 seconds. When he hung up, he turned back to face the committee. Mr. Chairman, Patel announced in a voice devoid of all emotion, I have just been informed by the White House that effective immediately, I am suspended from all duties as FBI Director pending a full investigation. My security clearance has been revoked, and my FBI credentials are to be surrendered to Capitol Police within the hour. The chamber erupted in chaos. Reporters sprinted for exits, desperate to break the story. Democrats and Republicans alike sat in stunned silence, trying to process what they had just witnessed. Thomas Massie calmly placed his documents back in the manila folder and sat down, his work complete. Outside the hearing room, FBI vehicles were already arriving, not to protect their director, but to escort him away. In 41 seconds, Thomas Massie had exposed a conspiracy, destroyed a career, and potentially saved the FBI from its most corrupt leader in history. The 20 names on his list would soon become household knowledge, triggering the largest law enforcement investigation in American history. As Patel handed over his badge to Capitol Police, his hands visibly shaking, one reporter shouted a question that captured the moment perfectly. "Director Patel, do you regret visiting Epstein Island?" Patel looked directly into the camera, his career in ruins, his reputation destroyed, and said something that would be replayed on every news channel for weeks. "I regret everything." In the moments that followed, the hearing room witnessed something unprecedented in congressional history. FBI agents in attendance, men and women who had dedicated their lives to law enforcement, began removing their own badges in solidarity with the institution, not the man who had corrupted it. Agent Jennifer Walsh, a 23-year veteran, stood up and placed her badge on the witness table. "This badge represents integrity," she said loud enough for the microphones to catch. "Not corruption." Within minutes, 17 other agents followed suit, creating a pile of badges that would become an iconic image. Committee members sat in stunned silence as they processed the magnitude of what had just unfolded. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, rarely speechless, could only shake her head as she watched career FBI professionals essentially stage a mutiny against their own director. Even Republican members who had defended Patel just hours earlier were now calling for criminal investigations. The security detail assigned to protect Patel found themselves in an unprecedented situation. Their job was to protect the FBI director, but that director was now potentially a criminal suspect. Captain Mike Torres, head of the Capitol Police Unit, made a decision that would be studied in law enforcement academies for years. He ordered his officers to treat Patel as both a former director deserving of respect and a potential flight risk requiring surveillance. The badge that had once represented the pinnacle of American law enforcement was now evidence in what would become the largest corruption scandal in FBI history. And it all started with 20 names and 41 seconds that changed everything. But the story was far from over. Within 6 hours, 3 more FBI officials named on Massie's list had resigned. Deputy Director Chen was found shredding documents until security stopped her. The images of America's second highest FBI official in handcuffs became the defining visual. At 9:15 p.m., President Trump held an emergency press conference. "I was deceived," Trump announced. "The American people were deceived. This administration will not tolerate corruption." Senator Chuck Schumer called for complete investigation. How does someone with 7 documented visits to Epstein Island become FBI director? He demanded. FBI field offices were in chaos. Agents questioned everything they had been ordered to do. In New York, Agent Maria Rodriguez told colleagues, "Every case we closed, we need to revisit everything." Treasury analysts traced Patel's money trail through 14 countries. The $4.3 million was just the beginning. By morning, they had uncovered payments totaling $18.7 million, all linked to offshore accounts, with direct ties to Epstein's operation. Interpol issued red notices for 3 individuals who had fled immediately after the hearing. Britain recalled their intelligence liaison after his name appeared on documents. Even Israel's Mossad distanced themselves from operations involving the compromised FBI leadership. The whistleblower remained anonymous, but their impact was seismic. FBI counterintelligence agents discovered Patel had systematically placed loyalists in key positions. creating what one agent described as a shadow organization designed to protect his criminal enterprise. The House passed a resolution demanding complete declassification of all Epstein-related FBI files. The vote was 30-89-12. The Senate followed with their own investigation. Most shocking was discovering Patel's corruption had actively hindered legitimate investigations. 3 trafficking cases had been mysteriously closed under his direction. Evidence in major corruption cases had disappeared from FBI custody. Agents who questioned these decisions found themselves transferred to remote offices or forced into early retirement. Media coverage was relentless and global. The BBC ran America's Compromised Cops. Le Monde asked whether the FBI had become an organized crime family in federal uniforms. Even pro-American outlets demanded explanations. Sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't a gun or a badge, it's truth, documented and revealed at exactly the right moment. What happens when the people sworn to protect us become the very criminals they're supposed to catch? If justice can't survive transparency, was it ever real? If this story exposed corruption you didn't know existed, don't just watch. Like, share, and subscribe to Breaking Point, where government secrets get revealed and lies get time-stamped. Hit the bell. The next truth might be about someone in your own government. What would you do if you had evidence this explosive about your own leaders? Drop a comment below. This dramatized story is inspired by real events and public figures. All dialogue and incidents are fictionalized for commentary and educational purposes. This is not intended to defame, but to explore themes of power, truth, and accountability in American government.